Hey everybody, Jill here. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a little sort of splurge I did with the Too Faced brand. I found something that I was so interested in. It's brand new, pretty dang new anyway, and I was waiting for the launch to come so I could purchase it. So I'm going to share that with you. And of course, exploring their website, I did find a couple other things that intrigued me. I have been using them all for about 2 weeks now, and I'm gonna show you how I apply it and give you my thoughts thus far with these products. So we're also gonna create a full face look today as well. And I like to give you a before and after before we even begin so you can decide if you'd like to stick around for this look. This one is what prompted me to kind of hit their website and see what's up. So this is pretty dang new. This was just launched not too long ago, and it is a highlighter palette. Now, I'm not huge on highlighter palettes, but I feel like Too Faced does them so well. I use them like the Peach Blur. I use them as sometimes a finishing powder. This one intrigued me, and I knew I had to have it because, let me show you. First of all, the packaging, adorable, once again. They do it well. But I want to show you here. So there is a mirror. I love this because they give you a really lovely sort of palette here. The center one is the biggest, and that is just a pretty natural, luminous look. I have used this as sort of a finishing powder. And by the way, this comes in light and medium. I'm not sure if there's a dark. If there is, I'll let you know. But I got light, so this is the light palette because I have fair skin. But here is that center large pan. You get quite a bit here in this whole palette. So this is lovely. And then over here, we have what's called Glow. Let me swatch this. We'll see what shows up. So, you know, this is just really pretty. It is tasteful. It's completely okay for us middle-aged people to use. It's very, very pretty. This one's called Glow. This bumps it up a notch, but still very, very tasteful. And I'll show you how I have been using these. Yeah, I don't even know if this is showing. But again, you know, it's still very, very not over the top at all. And then here we have what's called Dazzle. Now this one does pump it up even more. Still very pretty. I don't use this one too much. As you can see by the payoff there and just in general, it does pack some punch, but still quite pretty. It's not like sparkly per se, like some can be just woo, way over the top. It's still really pretty, but I don't use this one much, to be honest. These are the two that I really have been using and enjoying. So we're going to be using that today. While I was on their website, I found some other things that intrigued me, and I got sucked in from their Do You line, because anything that says do, as in D-E-W, you know, I'm all about that. So I thought, okay, now keeping in mind, I know that these are probably more for the younger crowd. I don't know, I guess I'm being very presumptuous with that. But this is the Do You Liquid Foundation. It claims to be full coverage. We'll talk about that as I apply it. It's long wearing, full coverage. This happens to be in the color Swan. Now, Do You, you know, I'm assuming this is going to give me sort of a dewy look, and I'll talk about that here in a bit as well. It says it's hydrating, it says it's brightening, long wearing, and nice coverage. So I thought, okay, all right. Then I went ahead and got the Too Faced Do You. This is a translucent sort of setting powder. Now this also comes in a couple, 2, 3 different hues. And I went ahead and went with the Radiant Pearl. Again, this is translucent, and I was very, very curious about it. So we went and I got that. Again, I have been curious also about this particular concealer. So this is from their Born This Way line, and this is their Sculpting concealer. Real curious about this, supposed to get real good coverage. So I've been using this for, again, about 2 weeks. I'll let you know how that is. So I've obviously, have my skincare on. I wanted to see how this played with a couple different skincare sort of regimens that I do in the morning, and I changed that up. So sometimes foundation will work well, sometimes it won't. Now this morning I used my Pumpkin E serum as my sort of moisturizer, and before that I sprayed on some cucumber spritz. This is in the Rhonda Allison line, which is, hyaluronic acid, cucumber, very hydrating, and then I sealed it in with just 2 little drops of the Pumpkin E serum. So I have a very light, it's now pretty much absorbed, but nonetheless, it is a very light oil blend. Some foundations just won't play well with that. I also will change that up from time to time, and I'll use my more of like a creamy moisturizer, and I'll use that. So I've done that now for the past couple weeks, giving it a chance to let me see how it's all doing. So I like to, now I've tried again a few different, just using my fingers, and I do prefer doing this with my sponge. And I love the inexpensive sponges you can get at Ulta. I have never spent, $20 on a makeup sponge before, and I love these sponges. So I'm gonna grab that. Like I do, I'm just going to really concentrate this on right in here, kind of the very center of my face. This is where I have, some light ruddiness all through here. And I do have, pigmentation sort of modeled right in here as well. Little redness, broken capillaries. So I center usually that application right through here, and then I will pounce it on back and bring it back into the hairline, and it's very thin by then, and that's the way I like it. I think it gives me a more sort of natural look, and I don't look like I have all this makeup on, and yet it's doing its job in kind of helping me correct what's going on right in here. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Again, I just sort of I might do another half a little pump, but that's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to grab it right directly on my sponge. I got rid of this tiniest little pimple right here, so I'm a little red there. So again, I'm just going to kind of distribute this right here in the center of my face, and I still have all this, so I will be grabbing some more. Okay, this is where I'm going to talk to you about the scent. All right, so it's supposed to have sort of a watermelon cucumber scent. Too Faced is all about scent. For instance, their chocolate eyeshadow palette smells like chocolate. They're just all about that. It's something I really could care less about. However, that's what they shot for with this whole Do You line. Now, while in the very beginning, I can smell some of that watermelon cucumber, very beginning, but you want to know, it took me a while to figure this out. It had this is where aromatherapy is very powerful, just aroma in general. It brings you sometimes to something in your past or something. So I was like, my Lord, this smells so much like something that I've got to figure this out. And I did finally. You guys, for me, now, our brains sometimes will interpret smell very differently from person to person. And this is what my brain did and continues to do. It's quite just like, wow. Paint by numbers. That has a very distinct smell, doesn't it? I believe it's probably castor oil that I'm smelling. That's what I can pin it to anyway. And that's what this smells like to me exactly. It's like paint by numbers. It's not burn your eyes chemical or anything. It really is just this sort of, I don't know, it is paint by numbers to me. Exactly. And I would be so curious to find out if any of you have tried this and if that's where your brain went. Anyway, it goes away. This doesn't stick with you, really. It's through the application process that it really dials that in for me. So, coverage. Well, again, I definitely get more coverage when I use the sponge, and I sort of push it sort of where I want to go, little light, little, flicky strokes. And then, if I pounce it in like this, you do get definitely more coverage than if you use just your fingers. So coverage-wise, it's very good. I wouldn't call this, in my opinion, now it could be because I do tend to go a little light with my foundations. So, it is buildable. It is definitely buildable. But again, I do just like, for lack of a better word, a light coating of my foundation just to veil my skin. I don't expect to get rid of the look of my pigmentation 100%. I wouldn't want that, I don't think, because again, I think that would just give me too much makeup. Now, I still have a little bit of that one pump. I'm gonna grab the rest of it, and I think I am just gonna sort of put it right on top of my eyelid, a little underneath. I'm also gonna grab that concealer that I've been getting. Okay, so again, I think this is a little light, but it is as much of a medium coverage that you're gonna be getting. Again, it is buildable. It still has this really unusual, in a good way, sort of a way that it looks on your skin. It's not sheer, but it blends as if it is. So if you are a little, if you don't get the exact color, chances are you're in the ballpark and it will still work for you. That's at least what I'm finding. All right, dewiness. Let's touch on that because the whole line is all about that. Do I feel or look dewy? Actually, no. It is still very unique though. I don't feel dewy. I don't, in the sense of, I guess, what I am used to and what I feel is dewy, but there is this luminosity that is very natural and pretty that is within the line. They do this sort of really pretty brightening luminosity in the formulation really well. But it really is sort of more of a matte feel and sort of look. It's very unique, it really is. So far, I actually am really enjoying this. So the next thing I do is I'm gonna grab my little sample here, and it's a pretty great size sample, of the Born This Way concealer. This is their Sculpting concealer. I use it as a concealer. Now, this concealer is a heavier concealer, so I was very curious to find out if I was gonna like this. I'm not huge on heavy concealers. That's why I like the Bare Minerals Serum Concealer, because that is a very light, pigmented concealer, and I really love this. So this is kind of going on the other end there. I am not a huge fan of Tarte Shape Tape. It's great for baking, and when I was doing that, it was fine, quite drying. So I really had to sort of preempt that with some really good treatment for my eye area, making sure it would stay supple and nice underneath Tarte Shape Tape all day. That's a must. But I have been actually really enjoying this. The pigments is good, really good. Yes, it is heavier, but they've managed to not make your skin feel or look dry. It has not been settling in my creases, and it blends out very well. I do use a sponge to blend and tap in really gently my, concealers, and it works super great doing that with this. Coverage, real good. I've been super happy with this, you guys, especially when I set it with this powder here. So I'm going to use my little teeny tiny little sponge here, and I'm just going to tap this in. I have not had any sort of dryness from this. It has good staying power. On to the Do You translucent powder. Again, not necessarily dewy, but the finish is quite pretty. It does give you sort of an all over matte sort of finish, but it's a beautiful satin, flawless, almost blurring sort of look. And I've been really enjoying this. Now, the combination of something that I used, the foundation was a little light for me, putting this over the top, because you are going to see sort of a pearl sort of finish. It can make me look a little bit pale when I'm all done, even though it feels like satin. Really pretty finish. So I will jazz that up a little bit with maybe a little bit of this bronzer that I've been using, or if I'm wearing more warmer colors, I'll go over it with some peach blur just to warm me up a little bit more. So this has a little pop top here, and it has a cushiony sort of bounce. And I use my big fluffy powder brush, and I coat it up. I'm gonna knock it off a little bit. And I start right off with pouncing it, and I'm gonna pounce it. But once I get it there and on, then I'm gonna kind of do a buffing motion. Real pretty finish, really pretty. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load this again, just a little bit, but I got definitely product on here, and I'm gonna pounce it right over my eyes. This is just kind of the way I found I like it the best. And then I'm gonna brush it off, put it under my eye, and kind of go over things again. Gorgeous finish. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I have been really happy with it, and it feels lovely as well. It's been playing well with what I used skincare wise that I talked about earlier. I hadn't had any sort of weird separation since I'm using a light oil serum as my, sort of moisturizer for the day. Yeah, I've not had any issues with either or, wearing sort of a creamy moisturizer. So that's not always the case. All right, so I am going to use this right now, and I'm going to use it a little bit like a finishing powder, sort of like what I would do with peach blur, but I'm going to go ahead and put this middle one on right now, tap it off, and I'm going to put it kind of right here on the very tops of my cheeks, sort of liberally over my nose, right back in here, center of my forehead, and down in here. And then I'm going to continue on my look. As you know, I struggle with bronzers. I'm very fair. They can tend to either make my skin look kind of dirty or very orange, especially as the day goes on. And a long, long time ago, yes, it's still good, I grabbed Hourglass. This is an Hourglass bronzer. Again, I'm going to put all of this down in the description box. And I forgot how much I actually used it and how much I kind of liked it too. It's kind of this baked formula, and it's not just that bronzing color. It has some very light creamy pink in there, and it's quite lovely. And I used to use it a lot, and all of a sudden, I don't know why, I just stopped using it and forgot all about it. So I'm going to use not a very dense powder brush here. This is not a dense one. I don't want to put this on real heavy, but I just kind of want to give the outer part of my face just sort of a little bit of a glow, and it'll sort of contour it in a way, but this does have a little luminosity to it, so it's not a flat bronzer. If you like that, and more of a matte, I don't think you would like this. This does give some luminosity. I don't know if you can see that. I actually enjoy it. So I'm going to load it up, not shy here. And again, I'm just going to kind of start going around the outskirts of my face, down into my neck, under my chin. Can even go sort of in the sides of my cheek here. I'm going to contour that though, but that might just even bring this over the top of my nose, top right through there, kind of where the sun might hit me. I'm going to load up a little bit more, take it right along in here. This is why I do not wear my wigs when I put my makeup on. It would really get all over the lacing and it would not be good. Plus it would probably get into the perimeter of my wig. Not a good look. So I'm wearing a very light blush pink in my shirt today. So I felt quite inspired when I looked at my Z palette here from Makeup Geek. Now, there may be a few of these, I hope not, but anything in this sort of category, you don't have to get hung up on the exact colors, but anything in this palette would recreate this look, I think, you know, within a tone or two would be totally fine, because unfortunately, some of these, and hopefully not all of them, but some of them I think are no longer available. But however, the Shimma Shimma is definitely available still. If they ever got rid of this, I would be lost. As you can see, I've hit the pan and I use this a lot. And we're gonna go right in with Shimma Shimma on the pinky. I'm gonna wipe that off just in case I got something on there. And I'm just gonna go ahead and go right in and plop this in right here in the corner of my eye, being careful not to let it wander down underneath. That would really accentuate my crepiness there. And I start there, kind of bring it up a little right in there. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on my entire mobile lid, at least the center. Don't care too much about the outside because something else is going there. And so that's what we're doing here with Shimma Shimma. I'll try to move quickly because when I highlight certain products, it usually takes me a little longer to get through a full face look because we're hanging out there for a while. So we're going to move real quickly with this eye look today. So in my crease today, I'm going to be using Country Girl. And I'm just going to sort of start tapping this color in right up in here. I'm going to be putting something else right in here, so I'm not too worried about getting in there. But I am going to pay close attention to how far down this area I'm going to be applying this color. You know, I want to kind of stick it to right in here. So just be careful how far you drag that down. If this is, you know, a technique that you also use and like. And then I am going to kind of bring it up right here to right under the beginning of my brow here. This kind of creates this nice, I don't know what, sort of contour. And then it highlights sort of this part of my eye, especially because we put some Shimma Shimma on there. So it kind of gives me this hollow look and a really nice mobile lid look all through here. I do like that look. My mom had that look completely naturally, and maybe it's me subconsciously trying to recreate that. I don't know, but that's what we're going to do. And I went ahead and brought it right in here. We're going to contour a little bit later, but you know, I just sort of like to carve that out if the color is light enough and if I think that it's going to work. It has to be matte, because eventually it will just sort of help to you know, bring in sort of what I feel is a little broad through here with me. And so if that color I know will work there and it's light enough, then I go ahead and do that. Spectrum CO6 brush, anything like it, works, and I use this as my blending brush. Softens my lines and just softens that application. Blending, you guys, I cannot stress enough how blending is the key to a really pretty look. And that goes for everything that you put on your skin. Anything. Blending, softening those lines is going to really put you over the top, and it's really key. So now we're going to dip into the color Burlesque. Another color, here are 3 options. I hope they have one of these. You could use something like Burlesque. You can do Bitten, or Cherry Cola. You know, any one of these really is going to work. And now I'm going to be placing this, and I'm tapping this in. And I'm still being careful not to let this fall down here a little too low. Brushing down, lightening my pressure, and just kind of letting the brush blend out a little bit of that for me. I'm going to bring this color to about, as I'm blending it, just about to the center of my mobile lid. It's quite soft. I'm going to dip into that Burlesque once again. I'm going to deepen this a little bit more right here on my mobile lid. Now I have hardly any pigment left on this, and I'm just going to buff out those edges, bringing this color right around in here, very lightly. My CO6 brush, I'm going to blur those lines even more. If I have any fallout, this will kind of help get that away as well. So that's what we're doing with Burlesque. And we are going to go into possibly the most pigmented black I have ever used in any line, right here in the Makeup Geek line. And we're going to go in, let me grab it for you, into, this is Corrupt. And it is a very pigmented black, and I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and load my little dome brush here, knocking it off real well. We don't want problems with this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pounce it, sort of tap it on. This will help to also control the fallout if you just deposit that pigment first and tap it and push it into your skin. And I'm going to bring that, and I'm kind of lifting a little. You know, as you age, your eye tissue tends to just so carefully, nicely fall over your lash line there. So sometimes you do have to kind of raise your brows and then just sort of lift it up so you are indeed putting it as close to your lash line as possible. And I'm going to dip just the tip now of this dome brush in, because I do want to concentrate the color right in through here. I'm not putting this color anywhere on above my natural crease. It's really just this mobile lid area right in here. Now, I think I'm going to use my CO6 real quick here. Don't have much on this at all. I have not reloaded this, but I'm going to take this and I am going to put this right under my lower lash line as well, with what I have on here with a very light hand. I don't want this to look harsh. This is, after all, truly black. So we just want a really light coating. We just want something very light here. I'm going to actually wipe this off again. I have a terry cloth towel down here. I like terry cloth because the little nubs of the terry cloth help to clean my brushes in between. And then these are white, so I just toss them in the washing machine with a little bit of bleach and they come out really nice. I get a big bundle of them at Costco. All right, that is what we're doing to finish this eye look. Now you have to trust the process at this point because you're gonna feel like, I can't get this to work. Everything just looks so, I feel like a raccoon, or, you know, again, make sure you're blending really well. Make sure this is really soft under here. I promise it's all gonna come together by the time we do a little tight lining and we put our mascara on. It all does kind of come together in the end and it ends up working. So at this point, it might be a little scary, but trust the process. It's gonna look really pretty. So now I'm gonna curl my eyelashes. This just helps to kind of get them up and away, and it helps to actually make tight lining a little easier because I can really see, you know, where it's going. So I recommend curling your lashes. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and tight line. I'm gonna be using my very creamy Sigma Black, and I'm only gonna tight line, well, I'm tight lining with this. We're not gonna do any water lining today because, again, I just sort of want this to look really soft. And so tight line is all we're gonna do, and we're just gonna open our eyes really wide and just sort of set that right under the lashes in that little tight line area. And once I look like I've got that really good, I also am gonna take this right to the corner underneath the tissue, not on top. But then make sure you kind of scrub it under the lashes as well, you know? It's just kind of giving it a little extra oomph. This is a huge, just great tip for mature eyes. All right, now all that's left is gonna be mascara. And because the length of this video needs to be managed, I'm not gonna do my brows on camera. I have other videos that I do that with, but I will rejoin you after I do my brows and put my mascara on, and we shall continue. So lots of times at this point, I'll come back on, have my wig on, but not this time because we're gonna be doing some contouring, and I love contouring. And yes, you can successfully pull off contouring in the daytime too, you know, and you just, again, it's all about blending and choosing a color that works for you. Now, the contouring is different than bronzing and brightening the face. Yes, you can put your bronzer kind of in here, but contouring is just a little different. You gotta use something that works well with your skin tone and something very matte, because we're contouring. We want the light to fall in there and create hollows. We don't want anything bouncing back, and even if it is a contour color but it's not matte, it's going to tend to sort of bounce back a little. That's going to defeat our purpose. All makeup is a play on light, you know, and that's it. We're creating contouring and highlighting within our eye look, and we're manipulating how the light is going to work. And it's so fun, and it's just fun. It's a sort of an art form. And when you understand kind of what you're doing and what you want to achieve, then your colors that you choose will kind of round off, and it's like the cherry on top, and it's creating a look that maybe goes with what you're wearing, or, you know, your hair or whatever. But the basics of contouring and highlighting, it encompasses everything that you're doing to your makeup look. So if you are fair like me, finding a contour color can be very difficult. I can't do anything orange. I have to be careful even within sort of the taupey browns where I go there, because otherwise I'm gonna look just dirty. However, I did find that with fair skin, generally what I have to do is go on the cool end. So I reach for eyeshadows at this point because I cannot find anything that works well in a palette form made for contouring. I just can't. I've tried and I've spent the money to do that, and it just never works. So I wanted to give you guys a couple different options in case these are no longer available. My go-to is Taupe Notch by Makeup Geek. However, I have also used successfully Barcelona Beach. If they don't have either one of these, you just want to find something in a taupe neutral sort of color line. You don't want anything to go too warm and or anything that's going to be super ashy, because then again you're going to look kind of muddled and muddy and a little bit dirty. It's a little bit of trial and error, and eventually you will hit on something, but I would stay within sort of that taupey neutral range, because you can be fair and have a warm undertone, you can be fair and have a cool undertone, or neutral. It doesn't matter. I still think working in a taupe sort of beige area is safe. Matte, 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 matte. It has to be matte. So I'm going to go ahead and do my taupe notch. Again, if they don't have this, it's okay. There are others, I'm sure, that will work. You may have an eyeshadow palette that you find something in there that works, and you go ahead and experiment with that. Now, a brush that I have been using for this that has been working out so well is a Bare Minerals brush. It's actually a foundation brush, and it came with a kit that I got. And I'm going to try to find the link down below, because this works really well. It's just tapered at such a way that I can kind of, you know, get it under where I want it. And it's been working out great. I've been using it for my contouring. So I'm just going to take that, and I'm just going to kind of lightly tap it in my pan. I'm going to tap that off. And I have a contouring video. I'm going to go ahead and link to that down below in the description box, because it's going to take you through this in a much slower pace. And I'm going to go rather quickly today through this. But there's this little thing, and it has a name. And last time I did my contour video, I said that as well. And lots of people looked it up, or they just knew what this was called. Doesn't matter, this little nubby thing right here. And then you're going to use that as your starting point. It doesn't matter what face shape you have. This is at the right place on everyone. So it's just a really great kind of way to let people know where to start, because it's going to work for you no matter what. You don't want to start too high up here with your sideburn and go down. That's going to give kind of a weird sort of contoury look. I don't know, it's doable, and it just depends, I guess, on what your preference is. I prefer to just do something more like this. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to draw right there on it. I don't want to stop my contour right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to bring that totally straight. So now I'm going to do just kind of I'm going to make a little sort of triangle, I guess. And I'm going to fill this in. And I'm going to try not to blend downward too much. And if you need to reload, which I feel like I do, I feel like I didn't load that very well to begin with, actually. It was kind of blotchy and it wasn't well done. But now I'm going to take that, and I like to carve out a sort of a cheekbone, a better cheekbone than what I have. And the thing is, when you do this, it sort of takes away a little bit of that, you know, focus on these marionette lines here. I don't know, it just seems to give a more youthful look, and it does sort of divert that attention to those lines. So I like to just kind of scoop out, sort of a check mark here, and just sort of scoop out right here underneath my cheekbone. I can actually feel it there, and that's where I'm going to take that. Little check mark, see? And I'm going to blend that out really well. Then what I do, remember my big fluffy powder brush that I like to use? I now take that, and I'm going to soften this whole thing. I'm going to soften it, just bringing it around the top. It probably has some of the powder on there, and that's okay, because remember, blending is key for anything. So we really want to soften both the line down in here and the line here. I'm going to go ahead and take this and lightly contour my nose. I like to go here. I like to go on the side, right here, kind of under here, along the side. And then I'm going to take that, and I'm going to bring it all the way up underneath my brow. Flip this around all the way up into my brow. Take this and definitely soften that. Never ever, in my opinion, stop contouring right here. I mean, we contoured a little bit, if you recall, with our transition color. We brought it all the way in here. This is only if you have a little bit of a wider space right in through here. It might be a little broad. This is something that I like to do, you know, to sort of eliminate that a little bit. But yeah, you know, so we did a little bit of that. But so now we're literally taking this also right up in there, and I like to soften that. But if you stop right here, it just looks almost cartoon-like. I just think it looks better. All right, now we're going to add some color. When you contour, you will find that you don't need a whole lot of blush after you do that, but I do want some color. So I'm going to go ahead and utilize some Makeup Geek. I guess that's the theme today, huh? And I'm gonna go in with Promise Ring. This is a beautiful, gorgeous, very light pink. So I'm gonna be doing that. I like to use a very light, fluffy brush for this. Nothing that's gonna deposit a ton of pigment here. I like to go quite light with my blushes, and so I have several of these types of floofy brushes for my blush. So I'm gonna just swirl that around in here. This is such a pretty color. And I'm going to put it right here in the apples of my cheeks, and I'm going to bring it right on up. I'm not putting any of it over my contour, you know, not down in here. But this is going to give me a really pretty youthful pink, sort of tastefully done look with my blush. I love using pink. I do think pink is a really youthful color. Don't be afraid of it. Then I bet you can guess what we're going to do. We're going to just take this right over the top of that and blend it all in. Next, I'm going to grab my Too Faced little highlight kit here. I have a sort of designated highlight brush that I use. And this is a Morphe brush, and there is a number there, and I can't read it, so I will put that either down in the description box or somewhere in here. But I'm going to go ahead and use this. And I'm going to go into Glow. That's this one right here. And I'm going to take that. It's a very pretty champagne color. And I'm going to put that just sort of right in here. I'm not going to take it too high up in here. It's going to highlight the hoon hawks out of my crepiness. Be real careful there. But I am going to kind of bring it out in through here. This gives a little bit of fullness, the illusion of fullness, which is youthful. So let's do that. And then I'm going to take some of the middle one, the Soft Focus, and I'm going to start right there at the arch of my brow, and I'm just going to kind of bring this right up in here. Make sure it's blending it really well. Now this might not just like pop and you're not going to notice it so much, but it's there and it's doing its job. You'd be surprised how powerful these little things are. Maybe a little bit right here at the tip of my nose. And that is that. Okay, that's it for this one. This is the after look. I hope you really enjoyed this and you can take a little something away from this video and apply it to yourself and really enjoy your results. Have fun with your makeup, you guys. Play when you can. And I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.